Herbie Fully Loaded, released in 2005, is a family-friendly comedy that rejuvenated the beloved Disney franchise featuring the anthropomorphic Volkswagen Beetle known as Herbie. The film starred a mix of veteran performers and rising stars, each bringing their own flair and unique talents to the screen. Page 1 of this overview will focus on the main cast of the film, their previous work leading up to Herbie Fully Loaded, the skills and energy they brought to their roles, and how the film influenced their careers in the years that followed. The central role of Maggie Payton, the young aspiring race car driver, was played by Lindsay Lohan. Lohan was one of the most prominent teen stars of the early 2000s. Before appearing in Herbie Fully Loaded, she gained major recognition through her breakout performance in the 1998 remake of The Parent Trap. She continued to build a strong filmography with successful roles in Freaky Friday, 2003, opposite Jamie Lee Curtis, and Mean Girls, 2004, which had become a cultural phenomenon. Herbie Fully Loaded marked a continuation of her collaboration with Disney and showed a different side of her talent, one that focused on action, physical comedy, and a more wholesome, family-centric image. Playing Maggie required Lohan to balance emotional vulnerability with determination and charm, all while acting opposite a car with personality. The film served as a transitional role for Lohan, showcasing her range as an actress and her ability to lead a blockbuster. However, it also represented one of her last major roles before personal issues and legal troubles began to dominate headlines and hinder her career momentum. Despite that, Herbie Fully Loaded remains one of the more nostalgic and endearing entries in her filmography for many fans. Michael Keaton, who played Ray Payton Sr., Maggie's father and a retired racing legend, brought significant gravitas and warmth to the film. Keaton was already a celebrated actor with a diverse portfolio, including iconic roles such as Batman in Tim Burton's 1989 adaptation and its sequel, Batman Returns. He was also known for Beetlejuice, Mr. Mom, and Multiplicity. By 2005, Keaton was seen as a veteran presence in Hollywood, and his casting as the concerned but loving father added depth to the otherwise lighthearted movie. His performance added a grounded, emotionally resonant layer to the family dynamic, and he played well against Lohan's energetic performance. Although Herbie Fully Loaded was not a major turning point in his career, it demonstrated his versatility and ability to connect with younger audiences. In the following years, Keaton would continue to re-establish his critical acclaim, eventually earning an Academy Award nomination for Birdman in 2014. Matt Dillon played the role of Trip Murphy, the film's antagonist and reigning NASCAR champion. Dillon was known for his work in dramas and romantic films such as The Outsiders, Drugstore Cowboy, and There's Something About Mary. His casting as a cocky and self-serving racer offered him the opportunity to play a more exaggerated and comedic villain, a departure from his more serious roles. Dillon embraced the over-the-top nature of the character, delivering a performance that was simultaneously humorous and detestable. Although Herbie Fully Loaded wasn't a career-defining moment for him, it illustrated his willingness to take on diverse roles across different genres. Later in the same year, he would receive an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor in Crash, proving his dramatic capabilities were still very much intact. Breckin Meyer portrayed Maggie's supportive and enthusiastic brother. Ray Payton Jr. Meyer had established a solid career in the 1990s and early 2000s through films like Clueless, Road Trip, and Garfield. His comedic timing and affable screen presence made him a fitting choice for the role of Maggie's more grounded and encouraging sibling. Although the role in Herbie Fully Loaded was relatively small compared to his earlier work, it added to his reputation as a reliable supporting actor who could enhance ensemble casts. After the film, Meyer continued to appear in various television and film projects, including voicing Joseph Gribble on King of the Hill and starring in the legal drama Franklin and Bash. Justin Long played Kevin, Maggie's best friend and love interest. By the time he appeared in Herbie Fully Loaded, Long had already gained some attention for his performances in films like Jeepers Creepers and Dodgeball, a true underdog story. Long's affable charm and comic sensibility made him an ideal fit for the boy-next-door character. His chemistry with Lohan was easygoing and contributed to the film's lighter romantic subplot. Herbie Fully Loaded helped him continue his career trajectory as a go-to actor for comedic and romantic roles in films like Accepted, Live Free or Die Hard, and He's Just Not That Into You. Long's appeal to younger audiences was further cemented through his work in the Get a Mac advertising campaign for Apple, where he portrayed the human embodiment of a Mac computer. Cheryl Hines took on the role of Sally Ray Peyton Jr.'s girlfriend and a humorous, somewhat clueless character who added levity to the scenes she was in. Hines was best known for her role on the critically acclaimed television series Curb Your Enthusiasm, where her deadpan comedic delivery and quick wit stood out. In Herbie Fully Loaded, she brought a bubbly energy that complemented the rest of the cast and gave the movie an additional comedic dimension. While her role was not central to the plot, her performance was memorable for its quirky humor. Hines would continue to have a steady career in both film and television, including directorial ventures and recurring roles on various sitcoms. Thomas Lennon and Wendy McClendon-Covey also made appearances in the film, contributing to its comedic tone. Lennon, known for his work on Reno 911, played a hilarious yet brief role as a greedy car dealer. McClendon-Covey, although not yet a household name at the time, would later rise to fame in The Goldbergs and Bridesmaids. Their small roles added flavor to the ensemble and reflected the film's intent to appeal to a wide range of audiences through varied comedic styles. Collectively, the cast of Herbie Fully Loaded was a blend of established actors, up-and-coming talent, and seasoned comedic performers. Each actor contributed to the film's balance of comedy, action, and emotion, helping to make the story more accessible and entertaining for audiences of all ages. While the film itself may not have launched any new stars, it reinforced the versatility of its cast and showcased their ability to work within the parameters of a family-oriented, effects-driven Disney film. In hindsight, the film stands as a curious point in many of the actors' careers, a moment of lightness and levity that fits snugly into the broader arc of their filmographies. Page 2 of this detailed overview explores the cultural impact and historical significance of Herbie Fully Loaded within the context of the early 2000s. While on the surface the movie appears to be a lighthearted family comedy and a revival of a classic Disney franchise, its release and reception reveal underlying connections to broader pop culture trends, the representation of gender roles in media, nostalgic revivals, and the evolving identity of Disney itself during a pivotal moment in entertainment history. The film marked the return of Herbie, the sentient Volkswagen Beetle, to mainstream cinema after a long dormancy. The character of Herbie had first appeared in the 1968 film The Love Bug, which spawned a successful string of sequels throughout the 1970s. By 2005, Disney was engaging in a period of reinvention, often revisiting its older properties in an attempt to reintroduce them to a new generation. Herbie Fully Loaded was part of this trend, echoing other revivals of nostalgic brands and characters. The decision to resurrect Herbie, a character symbolic of Disney's earlier family-friendly live-action ventures, demonstrated the studio's interest in reconnecting with millennial audiences who might have grown up with the original films, while also engaging younger viewers unfamiliar with the franchise. The cultural context of the early 2000s was defined by a strong sense of nostalgia, paired with rapid technological innovation. Society was transitioning into the digital age, with the internet becoming increasingly central to daily life, and yet popular culture was still deeply rooted in early analog experiences. Films like Herbie Fully Loaded served as bridges between these two eras. They offered a comforting sense of familiarity while being updated with modern sensibilities, special effects, and contemporary pop music. Herbie, as a character, represented resilience, individuality, and underdog spirit, traits that resonated with audiences in an age increasingly shaped by personal branding and self-expression. One significant aspect of the film's cultural impact lies in its choice to position a female protagonist, Maggie Peyton, at the center of a traditionally male-dominated sport, auto racing. The early 2000s did not see many mainstream family films that placed young women in such physically competitive and high-stakes environments without reducing them to side characters or love interests. Maggie's journey, as a talented but underestimated race car driver striving to break into the male-centric world of NASCAR, carried a message of empowerment that subtly pushed back against gender stereotypes. Though not overtly feminist, the film presented a narrative where a young woman's ambition and capability were central themes, aligning with broader cultural conversations around women in sports, science, and leadership roles. Maggie Payton's character also mirrored real-world figures emerging in professional racing during the time. Danica Patrick, who made history in the IndyCar series around the time of the film's release, was gaining attention for breaking gender barriers in the racing world. The film's release coincided with increasing visibility of women in motorsports, and while the narrative was fictional, it echoed the real shifts taking place in sports culture. For young viewers, especially girls, seeing a character like Maggie excel in a field that rarely featured female leads helped plant seeds of possibility and aspiration. The film also left a lasting imprint through its association with Lindsay Lohan, whose personal life and career arc were already drawing significant media attention by 2005. Lohan was a major cultural icon of the time, and her involvement in the film contributed to its visibility. She embodied the shift from child star to young adult actor, and her presence in the movie solidified Herbie Fully Loaded as part of a larger moment in pop culture that was defined by teen stardom, Disney's influence, and the commodification of celebrity. Lohan's fans brought considerable attention to the film, making it a staple of mid-2000s teen entertainment. The marketing of the film often emphasized her role, blending her persona with the film's brand to reach a wider demographic. Memes and references to Herbie Fully Loaded began to surface more prominently in later years, particularly as part of nostalgic internet culture. The idea of a living car that could express emotion, defy physics, and win races against seemingly unbeatable odds appealed to meme creators and fans of absurdist humor. Short clips from the film, especially those showing Herbie in exaggerated action sequences, were often repurposed as reaction videos or humorous social media posts. While not as deeply embedded in meme culture as some other Disney properties, Herbie's status as a quirky, vintage figure gave it a niche place in internet humor and throwback discussions. In terms of merchandise and branding, the film played a role in revitalizing interest in Volkswagen Beetles among younger consumers. Toy versions of Herbie were reintroduced to coincide with the film, and fashion collaborations drew on the retro appeal of Herbie's design. This was part of a broader marketing strategy by Disney and partner companies to tap into the retro chic aesthetic that was popular at the time. The car's iconic racing stripes and number 53 became recognizable symbols for a new generation, even if they weren't familiar with the earlier films. From a political or societal standpoint, Herbie Fully Loaded didn't engage directly with overt commentary. However, its underlying messages, perseverance, challenging expectations, and the power of individuality aligned with the more optimistic and motivational tone of family media in the post-9/11 era. Audiences were increasingly drawn to content that emphasized unity, heart, and redemption. Herbie's unspoken but powerful bond with Maggie served as a metaphor for empathy and trust in a world that was often feeling uncertain or fragmented. In the context of Disney's overall trajectory, Herbie Fully Loaded was part of a transitional period before the company's acquisition of major properties like Marvel and Lucasfilm. It reflected the studio's efforts to sustain its legacy by tapping into beloved franchises while preparing for the blockbuster-driven, franchise-centric model that would come to dominate its strategy. The film stands as a prelude to the kind of storytelling that blends nostalgia, action, and heart in ways that are designed to appeal across generations. In summary, the cultural and historical significance of Herbie Fully Loaded may not be immediately obvious, but it lies in the film's positioning within a shifting entertainment landscape. It captured the zeitgeist of the early 2000s, an era characterized by technological change, evolving gender roles, and a collective longing for simplicity and heroism in everyday forms. Its impact, though subtle, is sustained through nostalgia, internet culture, and its role in the larger conversation about how media shapes generational identity. For many viewers, the film remains a cherished memory not just for its content, but for what it represents, a moment of youthful optimism, underdog dreams, and the magical possibility that even an old Volkswagen Beetle can become a champion. Page 3 of this overview explores the behind-the-scenes aspects of Herbie Fully Loaded, from production decisions and filming challenges to insights about the director's vision, casting choices, and the technical elements required to bring the iconic Volkswagen Beetle back to life in a new era of filmmaking. While the finished film is a lighthearted family adventure, the process of creating it involved complex coordination, technical creativity, and significant logistical planning. Herbie Fully Loaded was directed by Angela Robinson, a relatively new voice in Hollywood at the time. Her previous work included independent films and television, and she had a distinct style that blended humor with sharp, character-driven storytelling. She was brought on to helm the project with the intent of injecting a fresh perspective into the Herbie franchise. Robinson's approach was marked by a commitment to making the film accessible to younger audiences while respecting the legacy of the previous installments. Her direction was particularly focused on maintaining the heart and charm that had made Herbie a beloved character for decades. Robinson faced the significant task of updating the franchise for a modern audience without losing the whimsical spirit that defined the earlier films. One of her major creative decisions was to frame the story around Maggie Payton's journey as a young woman finding her place in the world, mirroring the idea of Herbie himself, a car that, like Maggie, had been underestimated and dismissed. This parallel between car and driver became a central emotional thread throughout the film and shaped how scenes were written and shot. Casting Lindsay Lohan as Maggie Payton was both a strategic and creative decision. Lohan was under contract with Disney and had already proven to be a box office draw in Freaky Friday and Mean Girls. The production team saw her as the ideal choice to carry the film, not just for her acting skills but for her strong fan base and media presence. However, Lohan's casting also presented challenges. At the time of filming, she was transitioning into adulthood and was navigating intense media scrutiny. Rumors of tension on set and concerns about Lohan's availability and behavior began to circulate during production. Some reports suggested that scenes had to be res-hot or edited due to conflicts or inconsistencies. However, crew members also noted that Lohan remained professional during the most critical parts of filming and delivered the performance required for the role. One of the most fascinating aspects of the production was the creation and control of Herbie himself. Several different Volkswagen Beetles were used throughout the film to portray Herbie in various states and with different functions. A total of over 30 Beetles were built or modified for the film, each customized to perform specific actions. For example, some were designed for high-speed racing scenes, others for stunts, and a few featured animatronic components for facial expressions or subtle movements. These vehicles were carefully engineered by a dedicated team of technicians and effects artists. Creating a believable and emotive character out of a car required not only precise physical craftsmanship, but also a deep understanding of character animation, even without the use of CGI for Herbie's personality. In fact, a deliberate choice was made to limit digital effects when it came to Herbie. The filmmakers wanted to retain a tactile, realistic quality to the character, in keeping with the previous films. Most of Herbie's expressions and movements were accomplished using practical effects, including hydraulics, puppetry, and remote controls. This decision proved challenging in certain scenes, especially during the more elaborate race sequences, but it added authenticity and helped Herbie feel like a real, present character rather than a digital construct. The racing scenes, particularly the final showdown at the NASCAR track, required extensive coordination. Many of these sequences were shot at actual racetracks, including the California Speedway in Fontana. The production team worked closely with NASCAR professionals to ensure the authenticity of the race sequences, from track dynamics to vehicle behavior. Actual NASCAR drivers were consulted, and in some cases, served as stunt doubles or advisors. The use of real race footage intercut with staged sequences gave the racing scenes a grounded, kinetic energy that was essential to the film's climax. Another logistical challenge was filming in multiple locations across California. Scenes set in San Francisco were particularly difficult due to the city's steep hills and narrow streets. These locations, however, were chosen for their cinematic appeal and their connection to the original Love Bug film, which also featured San Francisco prominently. Filming in real urban environments presented difficulties in terms of traffic control, weather, and timing, but the payoff was a visually engaging and geographically rich setting that enhanced the film's realism. The film's production schedule was relatively tight, in part due to the summer release date and the marketing plan that hinged on capitalizing on Lohan's popularity. This meant that the editing process had to be efficient and precise. The film's tone was carefully balanced in the editing room to ensure it appealed to both children and adults. Comedic beats were fine-tuned, action sequences were trimmed for pacing, and emotional moments were enhanced through musical cues and subtle visual storytelling. Music licensing and product placement were also carefully curated behind the scenes. Disney, already a master at cross-promotion, used the film as a platform for tie-ins with music artists featured on the soundtrack, as well as partnerships with automotive brands. The Volkswagen Company, although not officially sponsoring the film, saw a spike in interest in the Beetle line, especially among younger consumers, and worked informally with the production team on design and branding considerations. Among the more light-hearted anecdotes from behind the scenes was the cast and crew's affection for the Herbie vehicles themselves. Many team members gave individual cars nicknames and personalities depending on their behavior during filming. Some of the cars were notoriously difficult to control, leading to spontaneous moments of humor or frustration on set. In interviews, several cast members recalled bonding experiences with the stunt team and the car wranglers, especially during long days of filming racing scenes under the California sun. Angela Robinson, reflecting on the project, described Herbie Fully Loaded as a challenging but rewarding experience. It was one of her first large-scale commercial productions, and despite the pressure of reviving a cherished franchise, she managed to bring a distinctive voice to the film. Her commitment to character development and visual storytelling helped differentiate the film from other reboots of the era. In conclusion, the production of Herbie Fully Loaded was a complex and layered endeavor. From casting decisions and practical effects to location challenges and tight scheduling, the behind-the-scenes story reveals the significant effort required to bring a magical car back to the big screen. The film opens with a brief montage that sets the stage for Herbie's history. We see glimpses of his past victories and popularity as a race car, now reduced to junkyard status. This montage not only serves to reintroduce the character for longtime fans, but also provides necessary context for new viewers unfamiliar with Herbie's legacy. This quick setup transitions into the present day, where Herbie is rusting away in a salvage yard, seemingly forgotten. The story then shifts focus to Maggie Payton, played by Lindsay Lohan, a recent college graduate with dreams of becoming a professional race car driver. However, Maggie's father, Ray Payton Sr., played by Michael Keaton, has forbidden her from racing due to a previous accident that left her injured and frightened. This establishes Maggie's internal conflict early in the film. She must rediscover her passion and confidence and assert her independence within a male-dominated world. The inciting incident occurs when Maggie, searching for a cheap car, visits a junkyard and is mysteriously drawn to Herbie. The car, now dormant, seemingly chooses Maggie as his new driver. This moment marks the beginning of their bond and sets the story in motion. As soon as Maggie drives off with Herbie, the car begins to demonstrate a mind of its own, leading to a series of comedic and surprising events. This is the first hint that Herbie is not just a car but a sentient being with emotions and a strong sense of purpose. The narrative then moves into the second act, where Maggie begins to uncover Herbie's capabilities. After entering a street race accidentally, she defeats professional racer Trip Murphy, played by Dillon. This victory shocks everyone and draws attention to Maggie's hidden talent and Herbie's mysterious power. Trip, humiliated by the loss, becomes the film's primary antagonist, seeking revenge on Maggie and Herbie. His role as the arrogant, established racer contrasts sharply with Maggie's underdog status, reinforcing the classic David versus Goliath dynamic. Maggie's relationship with Herbie continues to grow, and so does her confidence. With the help of her friend and mechanic Kevin, played by Justin Long, Maggie begins training seriously, preparing for larger races. During this phase of the story, the film interweaves moments of humor and heart, particularly in scenes where Herbie exhibits jealousy, affection, and stubbornness. Herbie becomes more than a vehicle. He is a character in his own right, complete with emotional arcs and reactions. The film uses this unusual dynamic to explore trust and companionship in unexpected ways. A crucial turning point arrives when Maggie decides to race professionally again, aiming to prove herself not only to her father, but to the racing world at large. This decision is met with resistance from her family, particularly Ray Sr., who fears for her safety. This conflict adds emotional depth to the story, highlighting themes of parental protection, growing up, and the need for autonomy. Maggie's determination to follow her dreams despite obstacles marks her transformation into a more self-assured and courageous character. The story reaches a moment of crisis when Herbie, feeling rejected after a misunderstanding, allows himself to be taken to a demolition derby. Maggie had considered trading Herbie in for a newer car after feeling embarrassed during a failed practice session, and Herbie interprets this as abandonment. This low point serves as both characters' moment of doubt. Maggie questions her abilities, and Herbie questions his worth. The demolition derby sequence is chaotic and emotional, culminating in Maggie's realization of how much Herbie means to her. She races to save him, leading to a touching reunion that reaffirms their bond. This sequence is a classic example of the darkest hour trope found in traditional narrative structures. It allows the characters to hit emotional rock bottom before rising to the final challenge. It also reinforces the film's theme of loyalty. Herbie's unwavering belief in Maggie is mirrored by her eventual recognition of his value and uniqueness. The climax of the film occurs at a NASCAR event, where Maggie takes Herbie to race against Trip Murphy and other professional drivers. Herbie is initially barred from racing, but after a series of comedic and daring maneuvers, Maggie and Herbie enter the track as underdogs. What follows is a high-energy, visually engaging race sequence filled with near misses, unexpected stunts, and clever teamwork. The pacing quickens significantly here, matching the intensity of the race and the emotional stakes of the story. During the race, Maggie must overcome numerous obstacles, including sabotage from Trip and mechanical setbacks. However, she and Herbie work together seamlessly, showcasing how far their relationship has come. The film culminates in a dramatic final lap where Herbie, despite taking significant damage, pulls off an impossible move, driving on the track wall, to pass Trip and win the race. This moment is both absurd and triumphant, perfectly encapsulating the tone of the film, imaginative, exciting, and heartwarming. The resolution of the story brings closure to the character arcs. Ray Payton Sr. finally acknowledges Maggie's talent and gives her his blessing to pursue racing. Kevin and Maggie began a tentative romance, and Herbie, now celebrated once again, is restored to his former glory. The film closes with a sense of fulfillment and optimism as each character finds their place and purpose. The narrative ties up its subplots efficiently, leaving the audience with a satisfying emotional payoff. The structure of Herbie Fully Loaded follows the classic three-act model, with clear turning points, escalating stakes, and a climax that delivers both action and character resolution. The use of foreshadowing, such as early hints at Maggie's hidden racing skills or Herbie's past fame, helps maintain narrative cohesion. The story also makes effective use of comic relief to balance more serious emotional moments, preventing the tone from becoming too heavy for its target audience. Another notable aspect of the narrative is its rhythm. The pacing is brisk but not overwhelming, allowing space for character interactions and emotional beats. Action scenes are interspersed with quieter, reflective moments that give the characters depth and allow the audience to connect with them. The film's blend of comedy, drama, and action helps it appeal to a wide demographic, maintaining engagement from start to finish. In summary, the plot and narrative structure of Herbie Fully Loaded is carefully crafted to deliver a satisfying and emotionally resonant story. While simple on the surface, the film weaves together themes of self-discovery, friendship, and perseverance within a traditional yet effective storytelling framework. By blending high-stakes racing with personal growth and the whimsical personality of a sentient car, the movie creates a unique and memorable journey that resonates with viewers across generations. One of the most prominent themes in the film is personal growth and self-discovery. The story follows Maggie Peyton, a young woman at a crossroads in her life, as she grapples with her identity and attempts to break away from the expectations that have been placed upon her. Maggie begins the movie as someone with a deep love for racing, but is held back by her father's fears and her own insecurities stemming from a past accident. Throughout the film, her journey parallels a coming-of-age narrative in which she learns to trust herself, embrace her talent, and defy external limitations. Herbie himself becomes a symbol of this growth. As a car who has fallen from fame and is dismissed as a relic, Herbie mirrors Maggie's position as someone with untapped potential. The fact that Herbie chooses Maggie, rather than the other way around, reinforces the idea that sometimes our paths in life find us when we least expect them. Their connection is not merely coincidental, it is symbolic of mutual need and mutual transformation. Both Maggie and Herbie are overlooked underdogs who must prove their worth to themselves and to the world around them. The theme of female empowerment is also central to the story. In a traditionally male-dominated environment like auto racing, Maggie faces skepticism and paternalism, even from within her own family. Her father, Ray Peyton Sr., genuinely wants to protect her, but his insistence on keeping her off the track underscores a broader societal expectation that women should avoid risk or intense competition. The movie challenges this notion through Maggie's resilience. By the end, she not only races against professional male drivers but defeats them, asserting herself in a space where she was told she didn't belong. This narrative of a young woman rising in a male-controlled industry speaks to broader themes of gender equity, ambition, and self-belief. Another powerful theme is trust and loyalty. The bond between Maggie and Herbie is more than just a girl in her car story. Herbie, though silent, exhibits emotion and makes decisions that show a clear investment in Maggie's journey. When Herbie feels betrayed after Maggie contemplates trading him in, it leads to a low point in the story, one that emphasizes how meaningful their connection has become. Their reconciliation in the demolition derby is a poignant reminder that loyalty requires trust, understanding, and forgiveness. This dynamic represents the kinds of nonverbal relationships people can develop with things they deeply care about, whether those are animals, vehicles, or passions. Symbolically, Herbie represents more than just a quirky car. He embodies perseverance, legacy, and individuality. With his iconic number 53, red, white, blue racing stripes, and mischievous behavior, Herbie is not just a mode of transportation but a full character whose physical design and actions carry symbolic weight. His resilience, despite being junked and scrapped, reflects the idea that greatness never truly fades. Even when society casts something aside as obsolete or useless, it may still hold tremendous value. This message speaks especially to younger viewers about embracing what makes them unique, even when the world seems dismissive. The use of cars and racing as metaphors is prevalent throughout the film. Racing is portrayed not only as a literal contest, but as a symbol for life's challenges and the need to push forward despite setbacks. The track becomes a stage where identity is tested and redefined. For Maggie, each lap is a step closer to becoming the person she was meant to be. For Herbie, it is a chance to reclaim his legacy and show that heart and determination can outmatch speed and technology. The idea of legacy is also subtly explored. Maggie comes from a family of racers. Her father and older relatives have strong connections to the sport. This generational pressure creates tension, but it also sets the stage for Maggie to forge her own identity. Instead of merely following in her family's footsteps, she finds a way to modernize and personalize that legacy through her partnership with Herbie. This idea of reinterpreting the past and building upon it for the future resonates strongly with audiences who are navigating their place in the world. The film also touches on the theme of authenticity versus artificiality. Trip Murphy, the film's antagonist, represents the superficial aspects of racing. He is cocky, image-driven, and more concerned with fame than substance. His slick persona and reliance on flashy technology contrast sharply with Herbie's old-school charm and heart. In the end, the victory goes not to the driver with the most resources, but to the one with the most heart. This moral reinforces the idea that authenticity and sincerity can triumph over pretense and arrogance. Even within comedic scenes, the film finds ways to explore belonging and acceptance. Herbie is often treated as an outsider, mocked, misunderstood, and underestimated. Yet, he consistently proves his value not by changing who he is, but by embracing it. His quirky nature, loyalty, and creativity make him more than just a car. They make him a friend. This speaks to the importance of self-acceptance and finding your place in the world without compromising your identity. The demolition derby sequence is particularly rich in symbolism. When Maggie and Herbie are forced into this brutal, chaotic contest, it represents a trial by fire for their relationship. Herbie, who was once a champion, is now thrown into a violent, degrading environment. Maggie's decision to risk herself to save him reflects the depth of their bond and the courage required to stand up for what matters. Surviving and escaping the demolition derby signals a rebirth for both characters. They emerge stronger, more unified, and ready to face the world. Color symbolism is also present in the film's visual language. Herbie's distinctive stripes, for example, reflect a blend of American identity, individuality, and rebellion. The red symbolizes passion and danger, blue suggests loyalty and calm, while white represents purity and resilience. Together, they mark Herbie as a character who embodies both strength and gentleness. His design is timeless, appealing across generations and speaking to a form of identity that resists being forgotten. Maggie's wardrobe and costuming evolve subtly as the film progresses. She begins the story in more casual, nondescript clothing, but as she gains confidence, her racing suits and gear become bolder and more reflective of her personal style. This visual progression parallels her emotional journey and signifies her growing self-assurance. Finally, the film uses humor as a thematic device. Laughter in Herbie Fully Loaded often arises from absurd situations or Herbie's antics, but it also functions as a way to cope with stress, rejection, or fear. The characters laugh through setbacks, misunderstandings, and even danger. In doing so, the film reminds viewers that resilience can be rooted in joy and that facing life's challenges with a sense of humor can make even the hardest roads more manageable. In conclusion, Herbie Fully Loaded may present itself as a family comedy, but it is rich with themes that resonate on deeper levels. It explores identity, empowerment, loyalty, legacy, and the courage to pursue one's passions. The first notable element of the film's visual identity is its bright and vibrant color palette. Director Angela Robinson and cinematographer Greg Gardner chose a warm, energetic visual tone that reflects the film's upbeat and optimistic spirit. The colors are bold without being overwhelming. Sunny yellows, bright reds, clear blues, and rich greens dominate the frame. This visual warmth mirrors the emotional tone of the story and makes the film accessible and appealing, especially to younger viewers. The bright palette also helps distinguish characters and settings, making scenes easy to follow and visually memorable. Herbie's design plays a central role in the film's aesthetic. His cream-white paint, the iconic number 53, and red-white-blue racing stripes make him instantly recognizable. Herbie is a character, not just a car, and the film's cinematography treats him as such. Close-up shots emphasize his headlights and front grille, which are often positioned to resemble facial expressions. By angling the camera slightly upward or downward, the filmmakers give Herbie a sense of personality. He can look curious, happy, or angry simply through changes in camera placement and lighting. Camera movement is used extensively to create energy and dynamism, particularly during racing sequences. The filmmakers employ a mix of handheld, crane, and tracking shots to immerse viewers in the speed and thrill of the action. Low-angle shots from the track level provide a ground-up view of the racing environment, placing the audience in the thick of the action. During pivotal moments, such as Herbie's stunts or dramatic overtakes, the camera often pulls in for tight shots, emphasizing the intensity and emotion of the moment. Editing also plays a crucial role in the film's visual rhythm. Quick cuts and montage sequences are used effectively during races to maintain pacing and tension. However, the editing is never so rapid that it becomes disorienting. The film balances speed with clarity, ensuring that viewers, especially children, can easily follow what is happening on screen. Transitions between action and character-driven scenes are smooth, allowing emotional beats to land without feeling abrupt. The use of special effects in Herbie Fully Loaded is subtle but effective. Rather than relying heavily on CGI, the film incorporates a blend of practical effects and digital enhancements. Many of Herbie's stunts were performed with real cars, using skilled drivers and custom-built vehicles designed to perform specific maneuvers. Digital effects were used primarily to exaggerate certain moments, such as Herbie driving on walls or launching into the air, but the film retains a grounded, physical feel that pays homage to earlier entries in the series. This balance between realism and fantasy allows Herbie's sentience to feel both magical and believable. Lighting throughout the film is bright and naturalistic, especially during daytime scenes, which make up the majority of the movie. Outdoor settings, racetracks, junkyards, suburban streets are lit in a way that enhances color saturation and keeps the tone light. Interior scenes, such as those set in garages or homes, use warmer, softer lighting to create a sense of intimacy and comfort. Even during the demolition derby, which features a darker and more chaotic environment, the lighting is strategically designed to maintain visual clarity and highlight the emotional stakes of the scene. The framing of characters and objects is another subtle but important aspect of the film's visual style. When Maggie is shown with Herbie, she is often framed at eye level with the car, establishing a sense of equality between them. Herbie is not just a vehicle she uses, but a companion with whom she shares a partnership. This equality is reinforced visually by placing both Maggie and Herbie at the center of the frame during key scenes. When Maggie confronts her father or rival drivers, the camera angles often shift to reflect power dynamics. Upward angles give her strength, while downward angles show vulnerability. These choices help guide the audience's emotional responses without overt explanation. Costume and production design further contribute to the visual storytelling. Maggie's outfits evolve subtly throughout the film, starting with casual, modest clothing and gradually transitioning to more form-fitting, professional racing gear. These changes are not just aesthetic, they reflect her growth and increasing confidence. Herbie's interior is also designed with personality in mind. Details like a flower in a vase or a retro-style dashboard give the car character and charm. Trip Murphy's car and attire, by contrast, are sleek, high-tech, and cold, visually reinforcing his role as the antagonist. Set design supports the overall visual tone of the film. The Peyton family home is warm and filled with racing memorabilia, grounding the story in its heritage. The garage where Maggie and Kevin work is cluttered but inviting, emphasizing the hands-on, grassroots approach they take to building their success. The racetrack environments are expansive and filled with detail, from sponsor banners to crowd shots, which lend authenticity to the racing scenes. Visual motifs recur throughout the film, reinforcing its themes. Circles and wheels, for instance, are used not just in the context of racing but as symbolic elements of cycles, repetition, and momentum. Rearview mirrors and reflections are occasionally used to show characters in moments of introspection or change, subtly highlighting the idea of looking back while moving forward. Herbie himself is a recurring motif of resilience. The more he is knocked down, the more determined he becomes, and his visual design remains constant even as the world around him changes. The use of space in action scenes is particularly well executed. During the final race, the camera captures the vastness of the NASCAR track while keeping focus on Herbie and Maggie. Wide shots are intercut with intense close-ups to provide both context and emotion. The movement across the track is fluid, and the film uses spatial geography effectively to track rivalries and drama on the course. Herbie's ability to defy expectations, such as driving up the wall or squeezing through impossibly tight spaces, is highlighted through creative camera work that amplifies his unique abilities. Soundstage scenes are used sparingly, with most of the film shot on location or on practical sets. This choice lends a sense of realism to even the most fantastical moments. Herbie's actions feel tangible because they are rooted in physical environments, whether it's a dusty junkyard, a crowded raceway, or a suburban street. The production's commitment to realism, even in a whimsical story, helps ground the film and makes Herbie's magic all the more effective. In terms of visual storytelling, the film is constantly guiding the viewer's emotional journey. When Maggie and Herbie first connect, soft lighting and gentle camera movements convey warmth and possibility. During moments of conflict, such as Maggie's argument with her father or Herbie's apparent betrayal, the camera lingers longer on characters' faces, using stillness to emphasize emotional weight. Then, during action scenes, the cinematography becomes more kinetic, using rapid cuts, close-up inserts, and camera sweeps to reflect adrenaline and excitement. The musical score for Herbie Fully Loaded was composed by Mark Mothersbaugh, a veteran in film scoring best known for his work with the band Devo and collaborations with filmmakers like Wes Anderson. Mothersbaugh brings a playful, energetic quality to the film's soundtrack that matches its quirky spirit. His compositions seamlessly blend electronic textures, orchestral flourishes, and whimsical motifs, creating a musical identity that is both nostalgic and modern. Throughout the film, the score adapts to shifts in mood, upbeat during racing sequences, soft and melodic during emotional scenes, and dramatic during moments of tension. The opening of the film introduces the audience to Herbie's history through a brief montage, and here, the soundtrack establishes its nostalgic connection to the earlier films. While the original Love Bug theme is not directly quoted, the spirit of those classic tunes is echoed in the playful rhythms and bouncy instrumentation of the opening cues. This helps create a sense of continuity and familiarity for fans of the franchise, while still making the film accessible to new audiences. One of the defining aspects of the film's soundscape is its use of popular music. Unlike some earlier entries in the Herbie franchise that relied more heavily on original score alone, Herbie Fully Loaded incorporates a wide array of contemporary pop and rock tracks that ground the film in the early 2000s cultural moment. The soundtrack includes songs by artists such as Lindsay Lohan, The Donnas, Gwen Stefani, Jet, and the Black Eyed Peas. These tracks not only appeal to the teen demographic but also function as emotional cues that align with Maggie's journey and the film's tone. For instance, Lindsay Lohan's cover of First by the Donnas is prominently featured, aligning with her character's desire to break free from expectations and pursue her dreams. The lyrics and driving guitar riffs match the film's themes of self-empowerment and ambition. Similarly, songs like More Than a Feeling by Boston and Believe by The Bravery punctuate key moments in the narrative, providing a sonic bridge between the emotional highs and lows of the film. The film also makes clever use of diegetic music that characters can hear within the world of the film. This is particularly evident in the garage scenes, where rock and alternative tracks play in the background while Maggie and Kevin work on Herbie. These moments add realism to the setting and help reflect the characters' personalities and cultural tastes. The choice of garage rock and punk-infused songs mirrors Maggie's rebellious streak and the grassroots nature of her return to racing. Sound effects are a crucial part of how Herbie's character is brought to life. Since Herbie does not speak, the sound design team relied heavily on mechanical noises, squeaks, engine revs, tire screeches, and even playful honks to convey emotion. For example, when Herbie is happy or excited, he may let out a cheerful sequence of beeps or rev his engine in a rhythmic, almost musical fashion. When he is sad, betrayed, or frustrated, his engine may sputter or growl, and his mechanical components might clunk or whir in a way that mimics a sigh or groan. The personification of Herbie through sound is one of the film's most impressive achievements. The sound design gives the car an emotional vocabulary that viewers can intuitively understand. The engineers responsible for these effects mix traditional automobile sounds with creative manipulations, sometimes adding subtle animalistic qualities, like a purring or growling tone, to enhance Herbie's expressiveness. This approach helps make Herbie feel like a living character rather than a machine. During racing scenes, the audio design becomes particularly layered and dynamic. The roar of engines, the screeching of tires, the whoosh of passing vehicles, and the ambient sounds of cheering crowds are all carefully balanced to heighten excitement without overwhelming the audience. Surround sound mixing plays a major role in these sequences, giving viewers the feeling of being on the track. Panning effects, where sounds move across the speaker field from left to right, simulate the movement of cars racing past the camera, adding to the immersive quality of the film. In the demolition derby sequence, sound design becomes chaotic and intense. The crashes, explosions, and metallic clinking are mixed with heightened dramatic music to emphasize the danger and desperation of the moment. Here, the film leans into a more aggressive soundscape, contrasting with the lighter tones of earlier scenes. This auditory shift underscores the emotional stakes and the bond between Maggie and Herbie, which is tested under extreme conditions. Moments of silence or minimal sound are also used effectively. When Maggie contemplates giving up racing or when Herbie feels abandoned, the soundtrack often pulls back, allowing quietness to reflect internal struggle. These subdued moments make the louder, more triumphant scenes feel even more impactful by contrast. The film does not rely solely on constant noise to maintain attention. Instead, it strategically varies volume, tempo, and texture to guide the viewer's emotional journey. The final race serves as an audio climax for the film. The layering of sound in this sequence is particularly sophisticated. The music builds gradually, mirroring Maggie's ascent through the ranks, while the engine sounds, tire squeals, and crowd cheers swell and fade with the pacing of the race. When Herbie pulls his trademark stunt, riding up the wall and landing ahead of the competition, the music hits a crescendo, reinforcing the moment's significance. The sound of Herbie's engine during this stunt is given extra emphasis, making it feel powerful and heroic. Even in comedic scenes, sound design enhances the humor. For example, when Herbie gets jealous or mischievous, he may emit a series of quick, cartoon-like sounds, beeps, honks, and squeaks that mirror exaggerated facial expressions. These auditory cues help younger viewers, in particular, interpret Herbie's moods and reactions, almost like a form of nonverbal dialogue. The film's closing credits continue the use of pop music, leaving audiences with an upbeat, celebratory feeling. This choice aligns with the film's overall message of perseverance, individuality, and joy. By ending on a musical high note, the film ensures that viewers walk away energized and emotionally satisfied. In summary, the soundtrack and sound design of Herbie Fully Loaded play an essential role in the film's storytelling. The combination of original score, contemporary pop and rock tracks, and creative sound effects work together to define character, enhance action, and support the emotional arc of the narrative. Herbie's voice is never spoken, but it is heard and felt through a rich tapestry of sounds that convey everything from excitement and humor to loyalty and heartache. This auditory design helps transform a story about a sentient car into a heartfelt, immersive experience for audiences of all ages. Herbie Fully Loaded was released in the United States on June 22, 2005, and marked the sixth theatrical film in the long-running Herbie franchise. Expectations for the movie were mixed from the outset. Disney had invested heavily in reviving the brand with a modern twist, and with Lindsay Lohan cast as the lead, the studio hoped to draw in both nostalgic adults familiar with the original films and younger viewers interested in Disney's latest teen icon. The film was marketed as a family comedy with broad appeal, incorporating elements of sports, action, comedy, and teen drama. From a financial standpoint, the movie performed reasonably well. It debuted at number 4 at the U.S. box office and grossed approximately $66 million domestically and over $144 million worldwide against a reported production budget of around $50 million. While not a blockbuster by modern standards, these numbers were strong enough to justify the film as a commercial success, particularly when accounting for merchandise sales, home video releases, and TV licensing deals that followed. The critical reception to the film was mixed to slightly positive, with many reviewers praising its charm and family-friendly tone, while also noting its formulaic structure and lack of depth. Some critics appreciated the nostalgic return of the beloved anthropomorphic car, while others felt that the film failed to innovate beyond the premise of earlier installments. Review aggregators reflected this ambivalence. The film held a middling score on platforms that collect critic reviews, signaling that it was enjoyable to a degree but not particularly groundbreaking. One recurring theme in reviews was the praise for Lindsay Lohan's performance. Even among critics who were lukewarm on the film as a whole, Lohan's portrayal of Maggie Peyton was generally viewed as charismatic and engaging. Her ability to carry the film and portray a believable emotional connection with a nonverbal co-star, a sentient car, was highlighted as a key strength. Many reviewers noted that her screen presence elevated the material and made the film more enjoyable for older viewers who might otherwise have dismissed it as child-oriented fluff. However, Lohan's involvement also led to some controversy. In the lead-up to the film's release, her personal life began attracting increased media scrutiny, which some critics and commentators argued overshadowed the movie itself. Additionally, a well-publicized issue arose regarding the digital alteration of Lohan's appearance in promotional materials. According to reports at the time, the studio digitally reduced the size of her bust in posters and promotional trailers to present a more family-friendly image. This move sparked debate about Hollywood's standards for female appearance, body image, and censorship, drawing criticism from both sides. Some felt the edits were prudish, while others saw them as manipulative or unnecessary. Critics also commented on the film's treatment of gender and empowerment. Some saw Maggie Peyton's arc, from reluctant street racer to NASCAR star, as an empowering story for young girls, showing a female character succeeding in a traditionally male-dominated field. Others, however, felt that the script undercut this potential by focusing too heavily on romance, family drama, and comic hijinks rather than exploring Maggie's journey in a more substantive way. Still, in the context of early 2000s family films, having a young woman as the lead in a sports-themed adventure was a notable choice, and one that contributed to the film's broader appeal. Aside from Lohan, other performances were met with varying levels of appreciation. Michael Keaton, playing Maggie's father Ray Peyton Sr., was seen as underutilized by some reviewers, while others felt his paternal warmth added a layer of emotional grounding to the story. Justin Long, portraying mechanic Kevin, was often described as affable and funny, if not particularly memorable. Matt Dillon, in the role of antagonist Trip Murphy, received praise for his over-the-top performance, which leaned into cartoonish villainy in a way that matched the film's lighthearted tone. In terms of technical aspects, reviews were generally favorable toward the film's visual effects and sound design. Critics appreciated that the filmmakers had opted to use practical effects and real cars for many scenes, giving the film a more tangible and authentic feel. The racing sequences, while not as intense as those in traditional action films, were described as energetic and well-edited. The use of popular music in the soundtrack also received mention, with some critics noting that it helped energize scenes and appeal to younger audiences, while others felt it occasionally dated the film. The movie was nominated for several kid and family-focused awards, including nods from the Teen Choice Awards and the MTV Movie Awards. Lindsay Lohan herself was nominated for Favorite Female Movie Star at the Kids' Choice Awards. While the film didn't win major critical awards, its presence in these youth-oriented events indicated that it had successfully resonated with its target audience. Some reviewers also expressed disappointment that Herbie Fully Loaded did not take more risks in updating the franchise. While the film was seen as competent and well-made, its story was viewed as overly safe, sticking closely to tried-and-true formulas of underdog sports narratives. For longtime fans of the Herbie series, this was not necessarily a bad thing. It offered a familiar tone and structure. But for those looking for a bold reimagining, the film may have seemed too restrained or predictable. Another point of criticism was the film's uneven pacing and reliance on cliches. The plot moved quickly between emotional beats, comedic moments, and racing sequences, and some viewers felt the transitions were occasionally jarring or underdeveloped. Certain plot devices, such as the rivalry between Trip Murphy and Maggie or Herbie's temporary betrayal, were seen by some as forced or lacking depth. However, within the context of a family comedy, these choices were generally accepted as part of the genre's conventions. Audience reactions, especially from children and families, were more uniformly positive than those of critics. Viewers appreciated the humor, the likable characters, and Herbie's endearing personality. Many parents noted that the film was a fun, safe choice for family movie night, and that its messages about perseverance, teamwork, and self-confidence were delivered effectively without being preachy. In international markets, the film found moderate success. Its themes and style were broadly accessible, though it lacked the universal appeal of some other Disney properties. Herbie's legacy, while strong in the United States, was not as well established in other countries, which may have affected its performance abroad. Still, the film's visual storytelling and family-friendly tone helped it reach audiences beyond English-speaking regions. In conclusion, Herbie Fully Loaded received a mixed reception that highlighted both its strengths and limitations. It was a commercial success and a nostalgic reintroduction of a beloved character, buoyed by a strong lead performance from Lindsay Lohan and an engaging audiovisual design. At the same time, it was critiqued for playing it safe, leaning heavily on formula and occasionally succumbing to behind-the-scenes controversies. One of the most significant aspects of Herbie Fully Loaded's legacy is its successful modernization of a classic character for a contemporary audience. The original Love Bug series, which began in the 1960s, was beloved for its charming blend of humor, fantasy, and family appeal. By the early 2000s, however, the franchise risked becoming a nostalgic relic. Herbie Fully Loaded managed to bridge this gap by incorporating modern filmmaking techniques, updated storytelling sensibilities, and a relatable teen protagonist. This approach demonstrated that legacy properties could be refreshed for new generations without losing their core identity. The film's success encouraged Disney and other studios to explore revivals and reboots of classic franchises with a similar formula, combining nostalgia with a contemporary spin. In this sense, Herbie Fully Loaded can be seen as part of a broader wave of early 2000s family films that looked to both honor and reimagine older properties, such as The Incredibles and Cars, which also focused on anthropomorphic vehicles, but with more advanced animation techniques. Although Herbie Fully Loaded did not immediately lead to a direct sequel, it reinvigorated fan interest in the character and set the stage for Herbie to remain a recognizable figure in popular culture. The film's portrayal of Herbie as a relatable, quirky character with a strong emotional connection to his driver helped solidify the car's personality in the modern era. This characterization influenced subsequent appearances of Herbie in other media, including animated series concepts and video games that sought to capture the same blend of charm and excitement. In the years following the film's release, Herbie became a staple in merchandise aimed at children and collectors. Toys, die-cast models, and clothing featuring Herbie's iconic racing stripes and number 53 logo were produced in greater quantities, fueled in part by the renewed visibility provided by Herbie Fully Loaded. This merchandising success helped sustain the franchise's relevance and contributed to its cultural footprint beyond the screen. The film also left an imprint on how gender roles were presented in family-oriented racing movies. Maggie Payton, as a young female lead competing in a male-dominated sport, became a subtle but important example of female empowerment in mainstream children's entertainment. Her character paved the way for other films and shows that featured girls and young women in traditionally masculine arenas, encouraging broader representation in family films. In this way, Herbie Fully Loaded contributed to ongoing conversations about inclusivity and gender equality in children's media. From a filmmaking perspective, Herbie Fully Loaded influenced how directors and producers approached the integration of live-action and practical effects with digital enhancements in family films. The movie's mix of real cars, stunt driving, and subtle CGI for Herbie's expressive moments showcased a balanced approach to technology that many filmmakers sought to emulate. Rather than relying entirely on animation or heavy visual effects, Herbie Fully Loaded maintained a tactile, physical presence that made the action more believable and engaging. In addition, the film's soundtrack, which blended contemporary pop music with original scoring, set a precedent for future family films to use popular music strategically to attract teen audiences while supporting narrative themes. This combination of sound and storytelling became increasingly common in mid-2000s cinema, reflecting shifting marketing strategies toward cross-generational appeal. While the film itself did not directly spawn a theatrical sequel, it inspired several attempts to develop Herbie-related projects in other formats. There were proposals for animated series and direct-to-video releases that aimed to continue the story or expand a universe, though these efforts were limited and met with varying degrees of success. Nevertheless, Herbie Fully Loaded ensured that the character remained part of Disney's portfolio of recognizable intellectual properties, available for future adaptation and reinvention. The influence of Herbie Fully Loaded can also be seen in the way it contributed to the broader genre of racing comedies targeted at younger audiences. Its mix of humor, underdog sports narrative, and lighthearted family drama became a template for similar films and television shows. Elements such as a spunky young protagonist, a lovable anthropomorphic vehicle, and a blend of action and comedy became popular conventions partly because of the film's impact. In popular culture, Herbie from Herbie Fully Loaded continues to be referenced as a symbol of friendly competition, resilience, and fun. Appearances in television cameos, parodies, and fan creations often draw on the version of Herbie popularized by this film. The character's iconic design and personality have made him a lasting figure in automotive pop culture, especially among fans who grew up during the film's release era. In conclusion, Herbie Fully Loaded has left a meaningful legacy that goes beyond its initial box office run. It revitalized a beloved franchise for a new generation, contributed to evolving representations of gender in family films, influenced filmmaking techniques related to blending practical effects with digital enhancements, and helped set trends in soundtrack curation. While it did not spawn direct sequels, its impact is felt across merchandise, cultural references, and the ongoing affection for Herbie as a character. This legacy ensures that Herbie Fully Loaded remains a notable entry in the history of family and sports comedies, marking a successful chapter in the enduring story of the lovable sentient car. Upon its release, Herbie Fully Loaded appealed primarily to families and younger viewers, particularly preteens and teenagers who found a relatable hero in Maggie Payton. Many children enjoyed the film's combination of comedy, action, and the magical notion of a car with a personality and heart. For these viewers, Herbie was not just a racing car but a friend and companion, a source of adventure and laughter. The film's accessible humor and positive messages about perseverance and believing in oneself helped it resonate as a feel-good experience that parents could comfortably share with their children. For viewers who grew up with the original Love Bug films from the 1960s and 1970s, Herbie Fully Loaded offered a mix of nostalgia and novelty. Older audiences appreciated seeing the return of the iconic number 53 Volkswagen Beetle, updated with a fresh look and new personality traits, while still maintaining the charm that made Herbie beloved decades earlier. Many longtime fans enjoyed comparing the new iteration with the classics, noting both the continuities and the changes that reflected shifting cultural attitudes and filmmaking styles. For these viewers, the movie was a reminder of childhood memories and a connection point between generations. The film's portrayal of Maggie as a young woman breaking into a male-dominated sport also struck a chord with many viewers, especially girls and young women who saw themselves represented in a way that was rare for family sports movies at the time. Maggie's journey of self-discovery, confidence-building, and overcoming obstacles was inspiring and empowering for many audience members, encouraging them to pursue their own ambitions despite societal expectations. Parents and educators often cited the film as a positive example of female empowerment in media, praising its depiction of resilience, courage, and determination. Conversely, some viewers found the movie's approach to gender roles and storytelling somewhat simplistic or conventional. While Maggie's character was praised for being strong and independent, the romantic subplot and some of the comedic elements were seen as reinforcing typical stereotypes or diluting the film's more progressive messages. These mixed interpretations reflect the broader cultural conversations around gender representation in media during the early 2000s, a time when family films were beginning to experiment with more diverse and complex portrayals, but had not fully escaped traditional tropes. Audiences also reacted warmly to the relationship between Maggie and Herbie. The film's ability to personify a car and imbue it with emotions without spoken dialogue created a unique dynamic that many viewers found endearing. Herbie's expressive sounds, playful antics, and loyalty made him feel like a character with his own personality, fostering a sense of connection and affection among audiences. This emotional bond was a key factor in the film's appeal, helping viewers suspend disbelief and become invested in the story. The racing sequences and action scenes were generally appreciated for their excitement and energy, especially by younger viewers and car enthusiasts. The film's emphasis on teamwork, skill, and sportsmanship during these moments reinforced positive values and provided engaging entertainment. Some audiences, however, felt that the racing scenes were less intense than they expected from a sports film, desiring more high-stakes drama or realistic competition. This divergence in expectations highlighted the film's balancing act between being a light-hearted family comedy and a sports movie. Humor in Herbie Fully Loaded elicited varied responses. Children and teens often found the slapstick comedy, visual gags, and Herbie's nonverbal expressions funny and charming. Adults and older viewers appreciated the occasional nods to the franchise's history and some of the witty dialogue. Nevertheless, some viewers felt that the humor relied too heavily on cliches or was uneven in tone, which occasionally detracted from the film's emotional resonance. Over time, the film developed a nostalgic status among fans who grew up watching it. As those children matured, they often reflected on Herbie Fully Loaded as a formative part of their childhood media consumption. For many, it represents a time of innocence, adventure, and imaginative storytelling. Online fan communities and social media groups occasionally celebrate the film, sharing favorite scenes, quotes, and memories, indicating a lasting affection that transcends its initial reception. The film's themes of believing in oneself, fighting for dreams, and valuing friendship and loyalty have continued to resonate with audiences beyond the immediate release window. These universal messages allowed Herbie Fully Loaded to maintain relevance as a feel-good family movie suitable for repeat viewings and generational sharing. Parents who enjoyed the film as children often introduced it to their own kids, creating a cycle of appreciation and connection. Critically, some viewers found personal meaning in Maggie's struggles and triumphs, interpreting her journey as a metaphor for broader life challenges, balancing ambition, relationships, and self-identity. Herbie's loyalty and perseverance were seen as symbols of steadfast support and encouragement, resonating with those facing adversity or seeking motivation. In this way, the film offered more than just entertainment. It provided emotional comfort and inspiration. The cultural moment of the early 2000s also influenced audience interpretations. At a time when female empowerment was gaining more visibility in media and nostalgia for classic franchises was rising, Herbie Fully Loaded occupied a unique space. It both reflected and contributed to these trends, allowing audiences to connect with contemporary social dynamics while enjoying a familiar and beloved character. In summary, Herbie Fully Loaded was embraced by audiences for its heart, humor, and hopeful message. It resonated with children as an exciting adventure, with parents as a safe and positive family film, and with older fans as a nostalgic revival. While interpretations varied, the film's blend of charm, empowerment, and fun created a lasting impact that continues to evoke fond memories and meaningful connections across generations. The Herbie franchise began with the Love Bug in 1968, introducing audiences to a sentient Volkswagen Beetle with a mind of its own. The original movie was a groundbreaking blend of comedy, fantasy, and family-friendly storytelling, capturing hearts with its unique premise and lovable character. Over the years, the series expanded through several sequels and made-for-television movies, maintaining a loyal fanbase and cementing Herbie as a pop culture icon. Herbie's playful personality, anthropomorphic traits, and underdog spirit resonated deeply, making the character more than just a car but a symbol of charm, perseverance, and the joy of unexpected friendship. One of the defining aspects of the series' legacy is how it popularized the idea of an anthropomorphic vehicle as a fully realized character, paving the way for countless future films and media where machines possess human-like qualities. Herbie's success helped inspire and influence later franchises and movies centered on talking or sentient cars, including animated features like Cars, video games, and television shows. The series demonstrated that vehicles could be central protagonists capable of emotional depth, humor, and personality, broadening the scope of family entertainment. The franchise also holds an important place in the history of family films by blending genres, combining sports, comedy, romance, and fantasy into a package that appealed to multiple age groups simultaneously. Herbie's stories often revolve around themes of underdog triumph, friendship, and integrity, values that have universal and timeless appeal. This thematic consistency helped the series endure across changing cultural landscapes, providing comfort and optimism to audiences facing social and personal challenges. Herbie Fully Loaded revitalized the series for the 21st century, introducing modern filmmaking techniques and addressing contemporary issues such as female empowerment through its protagonist Maggie Payton. This film broadened the franchise's relevance and demonstrated its adaptability. While the earlier movies featured predominantly male leads and reflected the gender norms of their times, Herbie Fully Loaded presented a strong female lead in a male-dominated racing world, signaling the series' ability to evolve alongside societal progress. The series has also left a notable imprint on automotive culture. Herbie's iconic number 53 Volkswagen Beetle became one of the most recognizable cars in film history, inspiring real-life car enthusiasts, collectors, and customizers to recreate Herbie's look and spirit. The car's distinctive design, complete with racing stripes and number, is celebrated at car shows, conventions, and even racing events, underscoring the unique crossover between entertainment and automotive fandom. This cultural phenomenon extended the series' influence beyond cinema, making Herbie a beloved mascot for car lovers worldwide. Moreover, the Herbie series impacted merchandising and cross-media branding strategies. From the 1970s through the 2000s, toys, die-cast models, clothing, video games, and other products kept Herbie visible in popular culture. The franchise's ability to translate its charm into consumer products contributed to the rise of family-friendly media franchises as holistic entertainment ecosystems, where films are part of larger commercial and cultural experiences. Critically, while the franchise was often viewed as light entertainment rather than high art, it earned respect for its consistent ability to entertain and connect with audiences of all ages. The series' humor, heart, and optimistic outlook provided a welcome counterpoint to darker or more complex films, highlighting the importance and enduring appeal of wholesome family entertainment. Its success paved the way for studios to invest in similar projects that balance fantasy and reality in accessible ways. The Herbie series also reflects broader trends in American cultural history. The original films emerged during a period of social change, using the lovable underdog motif as a metaphor for overcoming obstacles and embracing individuality. Decades later, Herbie Fully Loaded mirrored early 2000s cultural shifts toward inclusion, empowerment, and the blending of nostalgia with innovation. Thus, the franchise serves as a cultural barometer, adapting to and reflecting evolving values over time. Despite no new theatrical releases since Herbie Fully Loaded, the franchise's legacy remains active through periodic references in media, fan communities, and Disney's broader portfolio of intellectual properties. The character of Herbie has appeared in cameo roles, commercials, and theme park attractions, ensuring that new generations encounter the beloved car. Digital media and streaming platforms have also allowed the classic films and the 2005 reboot to reach wider audiences, sustaining interest and appreciation. In summary, the Herbie series stands as a unique and influential franchise in cinematic history. It introduced a charming, anthropomorphic hero who transcended generations, inspired the portrayal of vehicles as characters, shaped family film conventions, and left a lasting mark on both entertainment and automotive culture. Through its continual evolution, from the original love bug to Herbie Fully Loaded, the franchise reflects shifting societal values while maintaining its core messages of friendship, perseverance, and joy. Herbie's legacy is not only that of a lovable car but of a cultural icon whose story continues to inspire and delight audiences worldwide.